They smile at you with warmth that feels like sunlight. They say all the right words. They touch you like you're precious, chosen, safe. But deep beneath the charm, the surface kindness, the perfect illusion, there are cracks. Cracks you want to ignore because your heart is already attached. But the truth is, danger rarely announces itself with a scream. It comes in whispers, in the subtle red flags you almost excuse away, in the small betrayals of empathy, the tiny slips of cruelty, the sudden coldness that leaves your soul shivering. And if you ignore them, the price you pay isn't just your peace. It could be your sanity, your freedom, your very sense of self. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But sometimes, the most terrifying thing is to accept who they really are. The charm that hides the shadow. How dangerous people hook you. They don't show you the monster first. They show you the mask. A mask of tenderness, of charm, of magnetic warmth that makes you feel seen in a way no one else ever has. You think it's fate. You think it's destiny. You think the universe finally handed you someone who understands the soft places in your soul. But Carl Jung warned us, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And dangerous people, they will do anything to keep you from seeing theirs. They learn to mirror exactly what you want, exactly what you need. They listen carefully, gathering your dreams, your fears, your secret wounds. Then they become the medicine you didn't know you were craving. That's how the hook sinks in. Because you're not falling in love with them. You're falling in love with the reflection of yourself they carefully craft and feed back to you. They call this love bombing. It's not real love. It's a tactical surge of praise, affection, idealization designed to overwhelm your doubts and shut down your intuition. And when your nervous system is flooded with their attention, their flattery, their apparent devotion, you stop seeing the tiny cracks. The moment their smile falters when you disagree with them, the slight tightening around their eyes when you assert a boundary, the cold flash in their gaze when you challenge their perfection, your unconscious senses it. Jung believed the unconscious is always aware, even when our conscious mind is blind. That's why you feel uneasy. That's why your stomach twists when they pull away suddenly, when their words contradict the warmth of their touch. But you push it aside, telling yourself you're paranoid, because they've already made you doubt your own instincts. They might say you're too sensitive. They might joke that you're needy. They might remind you how wonderful they've been, how no one else has ever loved you this way. And in your fear of losing that dazzling light, you ignore the darkness gathering at the edges. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So, you keep calling it fate. You keep hoping the mask is real. But behind the charm lives the shadow, a place in them that fears truth, fears vulnerability, fears any reality where they cannot control the narrative. And the more you fall, the tighter the trap becomes, because the hook isn't just the sweet words, the tenderness, the chemistry. It's the subtle power they hold over you, the way they make you question your own worth, your own sanity, your own memory. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly. They flood you with affection, then withdraw it. They pull you close, then push you away. And your nervous system becomes addicted to the cycle, the highs and lows, the craving and the relief. It feels like love, but it's not love. It's control. It's power. It's the way the most dangerous people hide their true selves, by giving you just enough of what you want to keep you from seeing what you desperately need to run from. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave, because leaving means facing the truth. And sometimes, the truth is the most terrifying thing of all. The subtle red flags, how they reveal themselves slowly. They don't raise their voice the first time. They don't shatter plates or throw accusations across the room. Danger rarely starts as obvious chaos. It begins as something that feels almost normal. A joke that stings a little too much. A passing comment about your flaws, a slightly jealous question about where you were, who you were with, why you took so long to reply. You brush it off, because everyone has bad moments. Everyone gets insecure sometimes. But Carl Jung believed that what we dismiss as insignificant often holds the seed of the greatest truths. In the beginning, the dangerous person tests your boundaries with small acts of control. They might guilt you for needing time alone. They might interrupt you, dismiss your ideas, belittle your successes. They disguise it as teasing, as concern, as love. But your body knows better. A quiet tightening in your chest, a flicker of dread you swallow down, convincing yourself it's not a big deal. That is your unconscious sending up a flare. But you were taught, by childhood, by culture, by your own hidden wounds, to rationalize away your own discomfort. So, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You forgive them. You tell yourself maybe you're overreacting. And that is exactly how they draw you deeper. Because every time you dismiss the red flag, you train yourself to accept more. Jung once said that we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So, if you ignore the darkness, you allow it to grow stronger. Slowly, the criticisms become harsher. The jealousy becomes more invasive. The jokes cut deeper. They might start isolating you from friends, subtly with guilt and excuses, until your world shrinks to revolve around them. They might accuse you of being selfish when you protect your time, your passions, your dreams. These are not small signs. These are the foundation of control. And by the time you realize how much of yourself you've given up, you're already tangled in the web they've spun around you. Your confidence is gone. Your voice is trembling. Your sense of reality, fractured by the constant manipulations, the shifting moods, the accusations that leave you doubting your own memory. And yet still, you stay, because they also apologize. They also show moments of tenderness that make you believe the good is real, the bad is temporary. Jung taught that we cling to illusions because facing the truth threatens the fragile ego we've built. And the truth is, the subtle red flags you ignored were never subtle. They were the beginning of the nightmare, one you cannot wake from until you're ready to stop forgiving the unforgivable. The erosion of self, how staying destroys you slowly. They tell you you're overreacting. They tell you you're the problem. They tell you that if you just loved them better, were less dramatic, more forgiving, they would be the person you need. And because you want so badly to hold on to the illusion, you believe them. Carl Jung wrote that what we deny in ourselves becomes our fate, and in denying the harm they cause, you become trapped in a fate where your own soul slowly withers. You stop speaking up. You stop trusting your instincts. You walk on eggshells, terrified of setting them off. Your world shrinks to the size of their moods, their needs, their fragile ego. This is how dangerous people erode you, not with overt violence at first, but with tiny cuts to your sense of worth, your boundaries, your very identity. One day you wake up, and you don't recognize the person in the mirror. You remember someone braver, louder, softer, kinder. Now you see only the ghost of who you were. That is their power, and that is the power you must reclaim. Jung believed individuation, becoming fully yourself, is the greatest task of a lifetime. But staying with someone who punishes your truth, your light, your very essence, makes individuation impossible. You cannot heal in the place that breaks you. You cannot grow in the soil of someone else's poison. You cannot become whole when you are constantly being shattered. No amount of waiting, loving, sacrificing will fix them. Because it's not about you. It's about the wound and then they refuse to face. And the more you stay, the more you lose the chance to face your own truth. Your unconscious knows this. That's why the nightmares come. That's why your body is tense even in moments of calm. That's why you feel numb where once you felt passion, joy, hope, because your psyche is screaming at you to run. And every day you ignore that scream, the damage runs deeper, until you stand at the crossroads, staring at a future where you disappear entirely, or a future where you walk away and reclaim yourself piece by piece. Jung said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." You have to choose, because staying means sacrificing yourself on the altar of their brokenness. And you deserve so much more than that. The escape, choosing yourself over their darkness. You know it in your bones. This isn't love anymore, it's survival. Every day is a choice between staying small enough to keep their anger at bay, or growing brave enough to risk losing them forever. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But becoming yourself means letting go of anyone who demands you shrink. It means standing up and saying enough. It means walking out into the unknown, even when your body is trembling, even when your heart is breaking. You don't owe them your silence. You don't owe them your forgiveness. You don't owe them another chance to prove they won't destroy you again. Because your life is not their redemption story. Your life is yours. When you leave, they might beg. They might rage. They might promise you everything you've always wanted. But watch their eyes. Listen to your gut, because real change comes from within, and if they haven't done the deep, painful work of facing their own shadow, they will drag you back into the same nightmare again. And this time, you might not find the strength to escape. Jung taught us that the shadow is never truly gone. It waits for us to slip back into denial, into illusion, into the comfort of old wounds. So, when you run, run with your eyes open. Run with the knowledge that healing is a journey, not a single moment. Run knowing that you will doubt yourself, miss them, ache for the person you thought they were. But keep running, because beyond their darkness is a world waiting to meet the real you, the one they tried so hard to erase. A world where you can breathe freely, speak without fear, love without bargaining away your soul. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to the wounded child inside you who only ever wanted safety, tenderness, truth. And you owe it to the person you are becoming, fierce, whole, alive. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Now you see their darkness. Now you can choose. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose the future where you are free. That is how you break the cycle. That is how you become who you truly are. You don't heal by hoping they'll change. You don't grow by staying small enough to keep someone else comfortable. You heal by choosing your freedom over their approval. You grow by standing alone in the wilderness of your fear, refusing to surrender your soul for crumbs of affection. And in that silence, in that terrifying, breathtaking emptiness, you begin to hear your own voice again. You realize you were never broken. You were just buried beneath someone else's darkness. Now you rise. Now you walk away. And as you go, you become the person you were always meant to be, a force of love, of truth, of light that no one can ever dim again. That is the power of leaving. That is the power of reclaiming yourself. That is how you save your life.